Mary Lou jump in when she is able. All right, so we will start by taking attendance. Brooke Jewell.
Here.
Elaine Breslow.
Present.
Steve Brown.
Here.
Sarah Pease.
Here.
Carolyn Coffey.
Here.
And I don't know, Catherine, can you answer or can you just hear us?
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. And Megan Brinzy?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Okay.
we hear you.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so we're only missing Mary Lou in that case. Okay, so next up, did everybody have a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Any additions, subtractions?
Fabulous as always. Thank you, Bronwyn.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved from last month. Okay, Megan?
Great, thank you. So I have in my report some updates. Excuse me, hold on one second. I don't know why I struggle with this here we go. So I have states about some small things, and then I want to touch base on our larger possible outdoor programming slash maybe an amphitheater project and kind of where we are with that. And we have maybe some decisions to discuss on that topic, but I'll start with my report. So we have started our in-person staff meetings this month, which has been refreshing. I feel like it's been a great way to kind of circle back to the complete normal and start, as you will, steadying the ship and start to move forward rather than, trying to, I don't want to say put Band-Aids on things, but put out immediate fires. And now we can start looking into the future and not trying to kind of manage our current programs, which has been fantastic. And I think it's been nice that we can all kind of gather again and have some conversations together in person, which has been great. So I meet with the staff on Mondays, and I do every other Monday. So one Monday I do our programming staff, so more of our librarians. And then on the opposite Monday, I meet with the CERC staff, just because sometimes the topics that we talk about are a little bit different depending on the department. So that's been great. The Friends voted to purchase a new museum pass, which we just put into our system 2 days ago. Bronwyn and I worked together on that. So it's the Zoo New England. It's for both the Stone Zoo and Franklin Park Zoo. We really like the pass because it's not set for certain dates. Like most of our passes, they just give us, I think it was 200 or 250 passes, and we can use them the way that we want to use them. But they do expire by the end of the year. So we just have to be smart about making sure that everybody can get their hands on them. I'd rather run out early than have some extra at the end of the year. Just an update on the borrowed art from the Historical Society, not committee. So I'm waiting on a proposal from them to move forward with our partnership. So they just want to have a kind of an understanding policy of how the relationship's going to work with the art, which is absolutely understandable. So once I get that, I will bring that to you for you to approve or discuss, and then we can move forward with borrowing some of that artwork. Our art gallery is back on schedule in the meeting room, which is really exciting. So our last artist, or our artist right now, is Margot Scheel, but we have artists booked through June and July for this year. So it's nice to get back to normal and have some really nice artwork in there and folks coming in to see it as well. We have a new marketing venue. I'm sure some of you have heard of the Cohasset Anchor. They've agreed to have a library corner published in their online news resource. They were also the creators of the Hingham Anchor, if any of you follow. But I think they're fairly popular. I follow their page myself. I find that the news is really relevant, and it's helpful for keeping on top of things that are going on in Cohasset. So we thank them for allowing us to be part of their newish venture, and we hope they have lots of success. So the Northeaster special at the library. So we were able to open on Saturday. We had power. I realized most of the town had power by that time, but I wanted to offer something. So we had complimentary warm beverages to try to pull people in the door. So we had our marketing said, heat up, charge up, enjoy some complimentary beverage, and come trick-or-treating. So we did have about 80 people come between Saturday and Sunday on that weekend, which is quite a bit considering we had just had a storm and people had some cleanup to do. And I think it was just nice that we could offer something a little extra over that weekend to welcome people back into doors and back out of their houses.
I think that was such a nice idea.
Thank you. Thanks. We are super proud of Megan Damiano. She was accepted as an official book reviewer for the Library Journal, which is a fairly prestigious, prominent professional librarian publication that all librarians use for collection development for the most part. So we're super proud of her, and she just told us that her first assignment is going to be an adult graphic novel. So we'll watch for her review in the next couple of publications. It's really exciting news for her and for us. Some projects that we're working on right now, just kind of behind the scenes, the story walk. The location is something that we're working on, trying to figure out. We just have a few hands in a few different places to see which one's going to work out the best. Our newest conversations are coming from the trustees of the reservation that do the Whitney Spur Rail Trail across the street from the MBTA. I've just starting to explore that partnership a little bit to see if maybe that's a nice space for our story walk. And we're working on our outdoor programming space, which I will bring up again in a moment. And some projects being considered for the future. We're looking into possibly a new carpet for the children's room, asking capital budget to support us with that.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can we just back up for a second on the story walk? Could you elaborate a little bit on this conversation about the Whitney Rail Trail? I don't think I heard about that before.
So this is fairly new, but when I say we, myself and the staff and town administration has been talking about where we can put this story walk, since our last location from the top of the library hill down to the recreation playground was not able to be done because of excessive gravel that's there. They just couldn't get through the earth, and they ended up renting some machinery. When I say they, the facilities department rented some machinery in hopes of trying to get through that ground, but unfortunately they feel that they can't. So, which has been really unfortunate. So we've been trying to think about some other places around town that would be a nice location for a story walk. So we've talked about the common a little bit, but we're wondering about, since it is permanent, if that's something that would be welcomed. We've talked about having the story walk within the playground out back. I don't feel like that's the best place, but it's a place. We've talked about the walkway up from the staff parking lot up to the library that way. So basically right now we're just kind of gathering ideas and finding out what processes would be at different locations so that we can make an educated decision on where might be the best location. And when that, when I have all of those extra details, I'll be bringing it to the board, but I want to have a good picture of what some of these partnerships would look like before we move forward.
Fair enough. Carolyn, what did you want to say? And then Steve.
Did facilities try the opposite side of that driveway, or just the side along the fence?
So Nick and I talked about the other side along the driveway as well. They just tried that side of the fence. There was two things. He felt that the pitch of the hill on the other side would be, once we got far enough away from the driveway itself in case of a plow, he felt as though the pitch was probably a little too steep to then kind of place a story walk. People would have to kind of climb up the hill to be able to read the story.
Got it.
So I thought that was fair. Actually, Nick has been very helpful in trying to find us a new space. I had a lot of trouble putting in the pride flags on the other side of the library too, and he and I had worked on that as well. So we're kind of seeing a theme here when it comes to the library grounds on how easy it is to get something into the ground.
Steve,
What
did
about
you-
decorating that black chain link fence?
That could be like on the outside of it, you think, or on the inside?
Either one.
Yeah, I think, that's an option too. I think I would prefer probably the outside rather than the inside because people would have to kind of make a special walk to get to the story walk rather than just be on their path. But that's a good idea too.
I don't know. Outside though would be getting little kids near traffic.
That's true too. Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Steve, you're muted.
That's unusual for me. Did Nick consider perhaps putting sand in a 5-gallon bucket?
Yeah, so we talked about that as well, Steve. That's a good idea. We didn't think of the sand thing. We thought about maybe some carved like cement rounds, if you will. So like a similar idea of trying to weigh it down. We kind of felt like we were still worried about the fact that that was still mobile in a way. So, and also finding a way for it to look nice was of concern as well.
At the beach, have you considered the beach? I mean, obviously that would be dependent on the association, but that might be a location to consider if they were open to it.
That's a good idea. I'll put that on my list.
The beach gets hammered by the weather though.
True,
True.
true.
It would
Yeah.
probably, the hurricane fencing got ripped out in the storm a couple weeks ago. I'm sure this story thing wouldn't last through one big storm.
Yeah. And those would be pretty scary projectiles.
Yeah.
Elaine has her hand up.
I do. Two thoughts. The beach, as well as the beach for a different reason, also has, environmentally protected considerations.
Sure.
And I do know, for example, when the town was trying to clear the parking lot of all the excess sand that would blow in there, they tried to dump it elsewhere or clear actually the road along the way, the roadway, and we got into trouble as a town for that. So I think that the beach, because of environmental considerations, in addition to weather, it would be lovely, but not the best option. And as for the common, I believe also there's a lot of protected things about the common that would preclude, a permanent structure going in there. So I would just not.
There was a big to-do years ago when a memorial was put on there, and it was determined that they didn't want to do any more things like that because it has the potential to just add on and add on and add on, and they want to keep the common free. So I wouldn't even, I don't know that that's even worth exploring.
Well, and I was also thinking there was probably some historical aspects we'd have to follow as well to be in the common. Yeah.
The thought is to be near the library. Now, that said, what if we hacked back the holly bushes, and did it along the L between rec and the children's room by the parking lot, Yeah, if you're walking in the main
Yeah.
door off the parking lot, just that whole area to the left, if we hack back the holly bushes a ways and make a little room.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an option. I'll
It
check
might,
in
it
with Nick
might
too.
still be gravelly.
It might, but we could always research it. Our thought with the rail trail was it's actually the opposite of what we were thinking when it came to the story walk initially, but we were thinking with the rail trail that we might capture some folks that we don't normally capture.
Mhm.
We were discussing, it's nice to have it at the library because, it's a library item, but at the same time, would it be just as useful to have this library item somewhere else where, our non-library users might change their minds?
I think that's a wonderful idea because,
Yeah,
and we even might think about things, if, I don't know if this conceptually would work, but imagine you had QR codes which you can easily place in somebody's window downtown.
Mm-hmm.
They would be willing to do that. That's part of the partnership. And then the QR code would direct you to the nearest story element. And you could make it so that the parent taking the child would go to one place today and another place next week.
That's a great idea. Or even to create like virtual story walks too would be kind of an interesting, like using the QR code to, I don't know, you've got me thinking. That's a great idea. And, with COVID, QR codes are kind of back in trend, whereas they were going away a little bit before. But, we use QR codes every time we bring the kids to school. We have to scan our QR codes to fill out the survey that says that they're well and check them in and check them out and all that kind of thing. So I feel like QR codes are extremely relevant now too.
We're considering it for the Cohasset Conservation Trust properties because we've got the same problem there that we have at the library. We've got people that know that we exist, but don't know much about it and don't get involved. And so now you see a sign, you say, okay, that's Cohasset Conservation Trust, but you don't know what is it, his historical significance. So we could tie in with Historical Society. We could tie in with the fact that endangered least terns nest there. And in a similar way, we could do that with the library. And we could highlight different services. I don't know how many people know about the free tickets to the Zoom, to the zoo, etc.
Right.
So if we had that concept, that could fit with your idea of partnering with different organizations. And it might be a way to cross-market. Let's say I've started talking with Seabird to see if I can get them involved in a totally different project. And they're always interested in expanding the awareness of folks. So you could have a little QR code and then it would mention it's in their store. We say, we thank you for doing this. And then when they follow the QR code, there could be another little acknowledgement.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a great idea. And another idea you had last month, Steve, was to have a volunteer board in the teen room, and we are and we have started doing that.
Oh, wonderful.
So we haven't actually put the board up yet, but we are starting to gather folks who are looking for volunteers. Carefully, we're looking for people to.
Do you have something else on the story walk?
I did.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just two other suggestions for places to look.
Yeah.
Partnering perhaps with Holly Hill Farm, because there are a lot of family like walks in the woods and stuff there. And the other thought was like along Milliken Field, which is the where like the town soccer leagues happen and stuff like that, and lacrosse leagues happen. And it's town property. So
Yeah, that's great.
those were my two other thoughts.
Well, those are a good idea. Now you're making me think of Beechwood too, might be a spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those are great ideas. Thank you.
I love the Holly Hill example.
I do too. I just took a
It's
tour.
exactly what they, I mean, they have like summer camps and they have all sorts of, and it's like physically close, I don't know, closer to the library.
And they're constantly bringing buses of kids.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. That's great.
Good.
Okay. So I just want to circle back to our outdoor programming area topic. So I have been working on trying to get that moving forward. I've spoken to Jason Federico over at Town Hall. I've talked to Michelle, I've talked to Chris Senior, of course, and Miriam, and got their buy-in as well about, starting the process. I've also discussed it with Russ Benetti, who's on the CPC, about if that's something hypothetically that maybe they would be interested in helping us fund. So I've been kind of doing the groundwork in the discussions. And then I met with John Cavanero, and he, oops, I didn't share my screen first. And he put forth a proposal to do a site survey of our land, which consists of the land on the library side and the rec side. And we'll get into that in a second. When I was working with the town, Open Space Committee was brought to my attention. We started talking about some of the things that they're working on because it's tying in a little bit with this outdoor programming space that we're working on. And it was requested that we consider having the entire property surveyed because they might like to have access to some of the site survey as well. But also, John Cavanero had mentioned to me that, with the expansion of an outdoor programming space, depending on the velocity of it, that it might also trigger some need for, some consideration of parking spaces and things of that nature as well. So I did receive a quote from him, and I will pull that up. And I will also remember to unshare my screen when appropriate. Let's see. So this is the quote, and he's kind of broken it up into 4 phases. Can everybody see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. He just says, it's nice to meet me, blah, blah, blah. And here's the proposed scope of work. So data collection and review of the design criteria. So just pulling together what's already documented at Town Hall, if any. Some of this stuff I'm not super aware of. It's overlay designations as applicable. So I'm not exactly sure what that means, to be honest with you. Researching what's already available, like I said, looking at the FEMA map for flood. So if there's any flood problems that we would have on the property, or just flood plains to be aware of on the property for future building or future parking spaces. And then looking into what the sewer department has on their record. So that's kind of the research aspect of it. And then doing a land survey. So it does mark the 3.7 acres, which is the entire property. When I say entire property, it's the kind of end of where the field is on the rec side, almost to where the train tracks are. There's there's some trees on the edge of our property there, and then the train tracks are right on the other side, and then it goes all the way up to obviously Ripley Road. So it's a fairly large piece of land that he'd be surveying for us. So go down. So he gave us an estimate for task 1 through 2, which are the ones that I just discussed. And we really need to survey the land so that we can create a schematic design, so that we have something so that we can go to the CPC or other funding entities and be able to have a real discussion about what we're interested in and how much it would cost and what their piece of what we're asking for from them. So, and then it kind of gives, if we decide to continue to work with them afterwards, it goes through tasks 3 through 5. I'm sorry. 3 through 5. And he talks a little bit about the pricing for that there. I don't really know if that's something that we need to discuss those steps tonight, but I would like to discuss basically, do we want to start this project? Do we want to survey our entire acreage and kind of what would the next steps be of this project, and just kind of have an understanding of what we're getting into?
Megan, just to take a different perspective, you can go online to Oliver, which is the state GIS system, which has all these different overlays of floodplains and things like that. But you can get very close to what the actual boundaries are of the property there for free.
Would that be something? Go ahead, Carolyn.
I think that with the idea of creating an outdoor programming space, that the property lines aren't really an issue for us, because we're not going to be building near property lines, but it's the grading, and so if just knowing the change in grades and making things handicap accessible and ramps and all that kind of stuff, that would be more the purpose of the survey. And so it would help a landscape architect determine where we might be able to build one and what form it might take and that sort of thing, if we're going to comply with all the codes.
I would just say that a landscape architect could do that for us, and to pay twice. I've worked with John Cavanaro in a variety of different roles as an individual with other places, and understandably, he's in business and he wants to sell his services. But in terms of what we need, I wonder if we're going to have a landscape architect come in and look for places to put in grades, you can easily put a board across and a measuring scale. Get that? You don't need it, to know that all 3.7 acres.
Agreed. And you're right that the landscape architect could provide those services. Oftentimes they want to survey the property, and they might package their proposal with another survey company or something. It just depends on the scope of the project and what they feel like they need. And at this point, we don't really know, because we haven't talked to any landscape architects yet.
I would just say we ought to put that off until we talk to landscape architects, because as you point out, Carolyn, we don't have to know everything about 3.7 acres. We have specific interests, and might be better to do that with the individual that's actually going to do the work, whether it be parking or storyline or whatever.
Do any of you guys know a landscape architect in town who might volunteer his or her services for half an hour to just walk around and talk about ideas and what they think the process would require? Because unfortunately, I think that the scope of the project would be such that it would be over $10,000, which means we have to go through the formal RFP through town hall and everything else. So
The only person who comes to mind for me is Chris Kennedy, but I don't know, I don't think he's an architect. He's a
Yeah, I think you're
designer,
right.
but I don't think
Yeah.
he's an architect. I
think
mean,
you're
he
right.
might have some good ideas and some connections, you know,
Amy
design
Martin
wise.
is another person. Oh, excuse me. Sure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Amy Martin, and I don't know how large scale, but I know she has access to people who do the machinery
Yep.
and all that kind of thing. I mean, she
Yeah,
does
she
good work.
hires crews.
Yeah. So I
Sarah,
don't-
I may have missed out on this, but we did have the land, did we ever find the original landscape design that was done?
Yes.
We found it and it was useless?
It's not useless. Do you mean the original one from like 2000,
Yeah.
No.
2000 or
It
the
was done by,
Stantec
like,
plan?
I think Presley might have done it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That does ring a bell. And we do have those, but did that have outdoor programming spaces? I remember that had trees.
No, it had an amphitheater outside as part of
That
it.
was Stantec. That was the Stantec plan that was done in like 2009. And we did find that too, but it was just a conceptual design, not like our actual architectural plans, unless the Presley ones did too.
Yeah. I just wondered if they were of any use to this whole project or just to, I guess not.
We should probably look for the Presley plans too. I don't remember that the Presley ones had the amphitheater on it. I remember that being the Stantec
Yeah.
design,
Bless you.
but it would be worth looking.
So I think Steve has an interesting point in the sense that I hate to have a landscape architect come and then want to do their own surveying rather than, like, is that possible? Is that something that could happen, that they could come in and say, well, that's great, you got the land survey, but that's really something we want to do ourselves?
Or maybe they come in and say they don't need it.
Right, right.
so should we consider getting a few in to give us some ideas and find out what the direction might be? That might also give us some good information about what our budget could end up looking like. I mean, I think we have some rough ideas, but that might, get our arms around something a little more concrete.
I know that Amy Martin, she came by our house and gave us a whole bunch of ideas for free. I think she might be willing to, and I don't know whether she has the credentials as a landscape architect, but if what we want are ideas on what we could do with the property, that might be one person.
And the only other person I can think of too is Sean Papish. But he's in Hingham, but I'm pretty sure he is an architect.
Yeah, he is.
I think I think
Hugely
he's pretty
expensive.
expensive. Exactly. You got to the word before I could. Yeah.
Great work.
Yeah.
Great work, but hugely
Yeah.
expensive.
We consulted with
like
him
these-
briefly and I was like, thank you so much for coming.
Can I offer you a coffee?
Exactly. Yeah, that's
What
right.
I was trying to think of was people who are library lovers, who this wouldn't be a project they would necessarily be interested in actually designing, but might just, help us think through the process.
Right.
So that's what I was.
Right.
yeah,
That's so you would
putting the
definitely go for
APB
someone
out
in
for.
town. Right.
Yeah. But anyway, if anyone thinks of someone, let me know. I mean, I can reach out to Amy and see if she would be interested or willing to give us a little bit of her time. But
I think if you just
I have a
ask her to
question.
walk through the property.
yeah,
I was gonna say, I have a
used to
question.
live
As,
across the street from the library, so.
Go ahead, Brooke.
sorry, as someone new to this, so it sounds like there was some plans in 2009, and is that right? You're right? And then what happened with it? Was it not able to kind of get pushed
Financial crisis.
through? Okay,
Exactly.
okay. And so are those plans still plans that we like?
They
and
were a conceptual drawing and they had sidewalks that we got a price on it then that was, if I remember correctly, over $200,000. And it was sidewalks all around the building and an amphitheater and everything else. And it was beautiful, but it wasn't going to happen at that point in time. And it kind of, it's certainly something we could look at again. Part of me thinks though, that if we're going to go to someone, it's better to go and say, we would like an outdoor programming space and see what they come up with, and not like tell them we want an amphitheater, because they'll design us an amphitheater, but maybe they have another idea that's even better.
Right. And you might end up with something that's a more flexible space in that way also. Yeah.
I like that. Good point.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think also just the key here is this is such a multi-generational community space, the potential for it. So yes, it's a place for outdoor programming, but it could also be, a resting place if you're walking by with your cup of coffee and you want to sit down and take out a book and sit and read outside. So I think it also has more assailable approach moving forward if it is something that is so great for the community.
Right.
So would we say our next steps are to go for an RFP, or?
Why don't
I
we
think it's more
try
of a
and walk
casual
around with them?
inquiry. I think it's reaching out to Amy Martin. And then, was that basically that she's our whole list? Do I have that right? Or Amy Martin or anyone else who any of us thinks of in the near term to add to the list. And
I'll ask a friend of mine in Philadelphia who is a landscape architect, just to look at Google Earth and see if he has any conceptual.
That's a good idea. And I actually used at my house a landscape architect in Cambridge who did the Hingham Library program, and he might be able to look at Google Earth, and we'll see.
And you can
It's been a long time though.
Yeah, you can
FaceTime with your friend. You can walk him actually out, Steve, to see the lines.
Yeah.
See.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Oh, sorry, I keep making jokes. Elaine, if you got one of those sport cameras, you could crutch around, and I could do the narrative, and you could do the camera work.
We could get you like a ski helmet with a GoPro on it.
That's what I wanted, GoPro. I couldn't think of the name.
Okay, so to give Megan a little bit of guidance, so do we all agree that it would be productive to reach out to a couple of landscape architects, have them, meet at the library, kind of walk around, give some ideas, even if it's an expensive one, you learn a lot, maybe.
Well, and we can say we have to go through this process because it's a public project, but we hope you'll, throw your hat in the ring or something.
Yeah. Is that?
Sounds great.
Yep.
Yeah. Steve, did you have something else? You're muted again. This is like a serial issue.
Well, I'm trying to control my desire to make comments.
Fail. No,
no, the hand was up to indicate that I thought it was a wonderful idea to full stop.
Okay. All right. So does that cover it? Megan, do you feel like that you have enough guidance to make the next move?
It doesn't sound like I'm making the next move. It sounds like everybody else is, which is fine. I'm happy to participate. But it sounds like everybody else kind of has the connections. So if you want to just let me know when they're coming, or you can give me their contact info and I can contact, but I think the beauty of it is that you already know them. So it's better if you do. But I'm happy to support or, whatever it is. But if we can try to do this by, next meeting or the first, or, by the next, that would be appreciated, because I am feeling like, and Catherine had said it when we were talking earlier, it's a timely project for a few different reasons, but it's very relevant right now because of, spaces in town and people wanting to have safe spaces during a time of COVID. Also, we are having trouble finding places to hold our programs. And so that's, a timely matter as well. So I want to encourage this to kind of move forward at a pace that's, making sure that we're being productive and thorough, but also at a pace that, it's something that we can get completed.
Sounds good. All right. Is that everything for you, Megan?
That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Bronwyn?
Oh, I won't be long. I just have a couple of bills to highlight. Now I've forgotten what they were. If anybody had any questions about the barking dog, that was additional posts, and I think we added 2 more signs, so that's what that bill is for. That's for the story walk. Vanguard ID, we went with new patron cards, and we decided to just offer the key smaller one rather than 2 cards. It costs about half as much, and we still had some of the double options available. So if someone comes in and says, well, I'd really like to have 2 library cards for whatever reason, they can still have that option. But we thought most people don't carry wallets per se anymore. And so it seemed like they wanted the key card was plenty. So we saved some money there. It was significantly less expensive to go that route. And then the only other thing I wanted to point out was the CDW government. That's the tripod for the owl that we purchased last month. And then otherwise, I don't want to step on the CLT's presentation, but we did hear that the takeout has been determined. So we're excited about that. I think that's it. There wasn't a lot of, there was less bills this month. I don't know why, but nothing else that's too significant. Unless anyone has any particular questions about anything, I'm happy to expand.
No questions? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the bills
So moved.
So moved.
and second it?
Second.
Okay. So we'll do a roll call for the bills. Steve Brown? Still muted.
I approve.
Brooke Jewel,
Approve.
Elaine Breslow,
Aye.
Catherine O'Callahan,
Aye.
Sarah Pease,
Aye.
Carolyn Coffey,
Aye.
Megan Brinzy,
Aye.
and Catherine Harvey, aye. So bills are approved. And let's see, Carolyn, that's your next. Oh, did I skip you? No, I'm next. Okay.
I have to bow out early. We've got to pick up our son from Logan. So I didn't know if there's anything else we need to vote on. I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry, but
I don't think so.
Excuse me.
I don't think so. I think it's just updates from
Okay.
here.
All right.
Yeah, but
Thank you,
thanks, Elaine.
everyone. All right.
Have fun.
Thanks.
So, I don't have that much. I mean, the main part of my discussion was also the survey. And just to report, we had a building committee meeting today. I don't know, I had to leave early myself, so I don't know if the fabric was chosen for the chairs, but that was one of the things we talked about.
Yeah, there are 4 chairs back near the periodicals area, kind of right behind Gail's desk, that are in desperate need of a redo. And my friend Nora came with a bunch of fabrics, and the first one she showed us, we went, oh, we really like that, and that was the end. So it worked out nicely, but it's one of those wipeable fabrics, but it feels like a fabric, and it has texture like a fabric. And this is it, and the color matches really nicely with the carpet and the oriental area in the reference room, and some of the other fabrics that we have the furniture of and everything else. So we priced it out. It's going to be a little over $1,000 a chair, as near as we can tell. Megan's going to talk to Town Hall and see if we can get some help with that. But otherwise, we might be asking the trustees if they're willing to use some grant money to get those chairs reupholstered.
Good. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else really. The survey and the outdoor space was sort of the main part of it. So I think I am all good. So that goes to you, Carolyn, for CLT.
The CLT did not end up meeting last night. We were unsure if we would have a quorum, but the Investment Advisory Committee did meet last week, and they, Steve can handle that, but the biggest piece of the news was that Paula, the treasurer, calculated the payout for this year, and it's a little over $70,000, which is fantastic. And that will be, Megan will let them know, Megan and Bronwyn will let them know when that will be paid, but sometime in the February timeframe.
Yeah, we asked if they could get it before February 1st. Are you guys going to vote, Carolyn? Because
Yeah,
technically,
we have to vote. We have to vote to approve it. I mean,
right.
It's not like it's not going to happen, but we have to vote to approve it, and we weren't sure that we were going to have a quorum last night.
Sure.
So we pushed it back a week.
Good.
Just a quick question about process. So after the CLT votes it, the trustees voted as well. Yes? Vote the amount?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I guess
just-
maybe we vote to receive it, but I don't think, I don't remember procedurally.
I was only thinking because we voted to receive the Friends budget for the year. I don't know, Barbara had asked me process, and so I had added that to her process, and then I think I should have probably asked first, but I think I assumed that because of the Friends.
Well, with the Friends, it's a little different, because it's the theoretically, like you guys would come up with all the things you want to ask the Friends for, and maybe the trustees have other ideas of what they think, what the best use of the Friends money is. So the slate of programs would be presented to the trustees for blessing before the Friends are asked for the money, just in case, if there were other things that the trustees might want to ask the Friends for help for, or something like that. But the CLT money comes for the use of the library regardless. So.
Okay.
All right, so that brings us to the Friends. We had a meeting last week. We discussed a variety of things. One thing that we talked about and decided to do is to we wanted to make a gesture for the staff, because we typically have hosted a staff luncheon and appreciation luncheon every June, and we haven't been able to do that for 2 years. So we thought that year end might be a good time to have an acknowledgement for the staff. And so we are going to provide a lunch for them. What did we say? Mid-December, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, a Monday in December.
Monday in December. So that's one thing that we settled on. And one thing
That's
that
awesome.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said that's awesome.
Oh yeah, it just sort of, I don't know, just sort of came up in conversation. It just seemed like it was a good time. Things are loosening up a little bit, and I think we had kind of lost sight of the fact that we hadn't had it in a while. And so it seems certainly high time to acknowledge all their efforts. So we're doing that. And one thing that I raised with the Friends, and I would say it landed with sort of mixed reception, but one of the obstacles I think that we're having recruiting wise and just, planning going forward, is that the treasurer role is pretty burdensome for the size of our board. And so I posed the idea that we might start thinking about outsourcing our bookkeeping duties. So that was something that that's a discussion that is just beginning, let's say. But I only bring it up because I know that, you know, a lot of us are involved in different organizations around town. And so I thought that if I mentioned it, maybe if anybody else has had any experience in that area or knows of anybody in town, a small bookkeeper who might be interested in doing the work sort of at a discounted rate, that would be very appreciated information and feedback. So let me know if you have anything on that. Steve, it looked like you were saying something, but you were muted.
I was muted because I was consulting with my better half.
I see. Very good. Carry on.
Well, the bottom line is that she's been trying to do the same thing for another organization we're involved with. And it's very hard to get a part-time bookkeeper. So that's the only point. It is.
So good luck is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's a direct quote.
All
Maybe
right.
if both organizations hire the same person, it would be a more interesting.
Yes, a more attractive job.
Yeah.
Sarah?
On a slightly different Friends thing, how is the book sales going? I heard that there was some possible controversy about where the books were being stored and what they were being done with on collection.
Yes, storage is a controversy that we were discussing at our last meeting, and we're just sort of juggling it for the time being is the answer. We don't, the library is short on storage space across the board. And so it's not really a good time for us to be looking for, a big stash, and we don't have a huge inventory. So, at the moment I have like 3 boxes of books in my car that need to go out to the book sale. And so I think that we're going to sort of band-aid it for the time being, because we're still working out this new relationship we have with Bay State Books. It's a very fruitful relationship. We just got a $400 check from them. And that's since August. So that's August, September, October, right? Is that right, Megan?
Yeah, I think he threw us a couple bucks for the large pickup he had done early.
Oh, in March. Yeah, right.
Which was nice because that really wasn't part of the deal.
Yeah, we were not quite getting to $200 a month in a good month. So an extra $400, over 2 to 3 months is a big difference. So even though we haven't quite figured out how we're going to manage the inventory for the ongoing book sale, I think that where we've settled for the time being is that we will keep personally sort of asking around for new titles and collect those personally to put out in the book sale, and then for large boxes full of people cleaning out and so forth, we're still going to be directing towards the book bin behind the library. So that's sort of where we are at the moment. There's really no good place to put them. And so I feel like too, that we want to sort of control the inventory that we bring in and sort of ask around and put feelers out when we need to fill in. But we don't want too much because there's no place to put it. And I think the other thing that we will likely do is have another large collection day like we had in March, because when we do that, first of all, it was incredibly successful in March. We had so many people, we almost felt that we had to cut it off. And at the end of it, we were able to pull out of that inventory as it was coming in. Now I think we'll be much better organized because that was sort of our first go at it before we really started with Bay State Books. We should be able to pull out the best inventory as it's coming in and then send the rest to Bay State Books. So it would be, I think, a different kind of, it buys us a little bit of time, because I don't think that we would be looking to do that before, say, March, and maybe have it be an annual. So we'll have maybe a little bit of time to figure out if we're going to have a place to keep any inventory in the library. So that's sort of the best I can give you on storage controversy.
Well, and I'd like to mention there is storage for the Friends. It's just upstairs. And that's
Yes.
the controversial part, is that it's up the stairs. So I just want to be clear that we haven't just left the Friends in the lurch with nowhere to put anything. They do have somewhere to put things. What happened was, with our relationship with Bay State Books, our understanding is that he was going to come and deliver some books to us. And so the need for storage was much less, if non-existent, because he was going to come deliver us inventory. He comes every Thursday. But from what we've heard, the inventory that he delivers maybe isn't to the standard that we were interested in. So that's kind of what has pivoted our well thought out operations, is that maybe we're not getting what the quality of what we wanted. So now we have to kind of rethink the entire process because of that.
Yeah. It's a bit of growing pains, but I think that we will have it worked out in the next couple of months.
I agree.
So, all right. So that's the Friends. Any new business? Anything anybody wants to mention? No? All right, then I think that covers it. And so do I hear a motion to adjourn? Okay, seconded.
Second.
All right, so moved. Thank you, everybody. And
Thank you.
Good night.
You.
next month.
Stay safe.